Hi, I am Dr. Brenda Jean Power. The doctor represents metaphysics, the nature of being. How are you being today? We're going to be looking at how medicine solution has the answer. How? Because your soul, solution, SOULTION, your soul has a solution. We have disconnected from the soul part of ourselves for so long that we have lived externally, we live materially. And even though we may think we've done things um, more spiritually, it's time for us to learn how to live as a spiritual human. And one of the things that happen in life is when you're communicating with yourself, with two others, and let's put in the idea of what is relationship. Now, we're going to be talking about the shared energy field, which is called the scalar field. So here's your orbit, here's somebody else's. And when you get together with people, you share a particular orbit space, and there's a set of instructions that is inside this space that's different than in your regular orbit. And it is this is how I'm supposed to show up when I have this signature, this is how I'm supposed to act when somebody acts this way. And we feel like we're not in charge of any of that because this is how we got parented or how we got society told us, but it's more of the collective. But this is how you begin to find your individuality is how and when you change this particular space that's happening here. And this is important. Now, a particular topic, now we're not going to talk directly on that, but a particular topic needs to be looked at, and that is the communication process. Because if you don't, how you want to put it, if you don't understand that communication process, then you'll fall for everything. If you, um, if you don't understand that some people like to tell half truths or be omissive and leave bits and pieces of information out. So the conversation can be in their favor. Now, some people call it strategy. Some people are, proud of the fact that they can manipulate others. And I'm here to tell you that as you begin to live as your spiritual self in an external world, so you're living in and out, so you're learning to how to actually breathe as a spiritual being in a human form. And that is as you're interacting with other humans, there's a part of you that needs to understand that you do not have to do what this little space, that scalar field, tells you to do when that energy comes into the room. Why do we do it? First of all, why do we do it? Because we're habitual beings. We have learned that first step, second thing to communicate, social skills, but we may not have learned them very well because we learned them when we were very young. Now we haven't really developed much beyond that. Here becomes the problem is that if you are ready to be done with that particular way of living, then you're going to start waking up from the soul level. And a lot of you have what's called a soul's urge. And that is, oh, I don't know if I really want to do adulting today, which is all the programs. And so you're like, but this is habit. I have to do this for this physical being. I got to do this, and this. That means you have to take care of your needs first. And then, when you begin to learn something, do you learn it on, you may not understand it right away, but the world told us not, we should have already known that, which is not true. And those used to be excuses because people didn't know it themselves and they didn't want to answer you. And that's okay. But what does it do to you? What does it do to you? That becomes the problem is what does it do to you? And if you take and interpret and put meaning to it that I'm a bad person because I should have known that, that's not necessarily true because you do not know how to drive a car, you do not know how to ride a horse, or you do not know how to ride a bike, or you do not know how to actually do dishes. There's, there's a process to doing things. And there's process of doing it, and then there's a process of step by step by step by step. Hey, use dish soap, maybe with warm water. Let's make sure when we scrub, we use our fingers as well, so that we're seeing with our fingers so we can feel, and we're looking with our eyesight so we can actually see. But it is process. It's all about using the sensory systems. It's all about whether it's clean to you. And you have to realize that there is a spirit being within you that's operating this biological suit. And thank you for that compliment. Somebody says I look beautiful. Thank you. So we have habits, and there's nothing wrong with having habits, but these habits can no longer serve us. And it can be a bit daunting to keep repeating them. We're butting our heads against the wall. We don't want to do something. And it's not just doing chores, driving, eating, exercising. Sometimes it's about communication. So it took me a long time to understand that throughout my life, I had grown up into an environment where it was negative, which would create a nocebo effect, which I didn't know until I learned. And then the more you know, the more you do. So you know and do. And there's a difference between pessimism and optimism. And part of me remembers that, oh my gosh, I live in a negative household. I'm negative. Therefore, I can't be anything more. Again, when you begin to grow and to learn, that's not true. That's not about being stuck as that limited person. So I began to grow and realize I can choose to be happy. And I'm like, well, why aren't people making that choice? But if you listen to certain people, they're like, that's just life. And it's like, okay, but I'm looking at life differently. So I'm like, whoa, so who's doing the watching? Who's doing the listening? And I realize there's a part of me that is doing the listening. It is doing the watching. And there can be many parts of me. So I can look at my life through different lenses, which creates different perceptions. I don't have to written in stone, have it be the final answer, live by conclusions, and that's that. I can actually grow. You can compare this to an athlete. So someone is going to start running. They may not understand that they have to practice to get the muscles and the joints and all of that to work. And maybe they don't understand that you have to breathe and make sure you have certain nutrients, or you have to, pace yourself. There's so much more to learn when you're learning a skill. And so in life, I would listen. And part of it was you should listen to your elders. You need to do this. You need to do that. And you have to understand we built a life, and now we have to maybe do some remodeling. Things that no longer serve. I no longer believe that, and you need to grow. So this comes to when you're ready to change your reality, the entanglement cords with people, when you're ready to have a healthier life, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, it's how you need to show up. And as I began to show up, I started noticing that I was happy, and then the next minute I'm not. And I thought, okay, so it's the meaning I'm putting to it because I'm interacting with people. Okay, so then I started to change the meaning, and then I started to hear, well, wait a minute. And do you remember Pinocchio, right? If he lied, then his nose would grow. Well, one day I'm watching Shrek, and Pinocchio's on there, and he has to tell the truth, but not give away that he's lying. So he's using half truths and omission. Now, you're trying to save somebody, that's great. You're trying to save your own butt, that's great, I guess. It's survival, it's all these things. But actually having the honesty in a relationship is not about, let's see how much I can play this person, I can persuade this person, manipulation that person. My part of me is like, but that's not what I want. I don't want to, let's say I need something, so I'm going to make them feel bad for me, and then they got to buy it, or why they got to do that. I won't. No, that's not part of what becoming a spiritual human's about. So it's being aware of the language. So I was aware of my language, and I started to clear that up, but I still kept hearing the same thing from a person, and I kept thinking that was love, and I kept thinking that was the truth, and I kept giving my power away to a very specific person. And it's not that I couldn't think bad of them, it's just, why would I need to? And so it came time to grow a little bit more, and spirit says, listen. And so, hey, I didn't scratch your car today. They wouldn't say the today. I wouldn't scratch your car, but they would leave certain omissions out. And even though it's today, it's the truth, but yesterday I did it type thing. So listening to half truth, half omissions. Now, this is where I'm learning to bust my egg open. So I will hear certain ones, and then I will forget. And when you're learning to crack your egg, which is the ego, that matrix, that's limitation, and where you over identify with matter, you have to write things down. So I wrote it in audio. If the person that I communicated with could recall some of those audios that I had given an example, because I was driving in the car, I want to investigate half truths and omissions and see how it drove me to insanity when they love to gaslight and to create a reality so that it would work in their favor. Again, totally was in love. But what I didn't understand, that our ethics and our morals and the way we believe in communication was different meanings. Hi. And because they knew I don't like to lie, because they knew that this is my character, they could get away with it. Okay. And so half truth. And this is, I have a upcoming class, and I don't know the date. I have a feeling it's going to start. I would love to be starting in October, but I think it's going to be November, because I still got some few things setting up. But it's going to be a week-to-week class. And one of the things that is in the class is learning how to investigate, spiritual investigation, and how to recreate a different meaning, understanding. So changing the know and learning to do and be a different type of a being. We're going to be able to develop spiritual intuition, communicate with your higher self. So when it comes to these half-truths, now what is your definition of a half-truth? Okay, you take a bit of the piece of information like truth, and then you twist it with whatever clever, what do they call it? The artistic way of putting their flair on it. There's another name for it when people are writers and creative people. They have a license, creative license to get away with something. But what are half truths? So I don't want you just to participate by maybe half listening. I want you to really get in and do some of the work, because the more you want it, the more you want to change your answers. You want to be able to understand and to be in charge of your life. Well, okay, white lies, very good. So I'm going to look up half truths. So, oh, I gotta fix my thing. So again, I love this person, and they would always do a Pinocchio on me, and they would do a certain amount of exaggerating, but they would do it like if they really wanted me to I say, hey, let's do this thing in this relationship. I feel like I'm doing all the work, and I'd like, or I know that you work and then you come home, but I kind of need some extra help. And there would be the story. And then there would be this emotion to the story. So if you ever watch a good movie and you have a good storyline and it emotionally moves you, right? Well, people do that in relationships. Hi, Patricia. People do that. And this is where you have to wake up as a soulful being and go, wait a minute. It's more than just gaslighting. It's, so this is why me and my husband sit there and we stop and we don't feed each other these half truths and omission and looking for guilty or to blame. We sit there and we heal our crap, so it changes the way that our meaning is and changes the way that we show up in the relationship together. And it's not that we have to discuss things out. It is, we healed the emotional part, we healed the way the story is, and therefore when we show up to each other, we don't have to bring our issues to the table. But in other relationships, before I learned all of this, I did. I did what I was supposed to do. You sit down, you have a problem, you communicate about it. But the fabrication, yeah. But here's the thing. It really began to drive me nuts because I sat down and I was serious about it. I feel like I'm mentally going crazy. I need a little help. I need a little break. And and everything would just kind of be twisted. So these half truths. So when you think of this, a statement is only partly true and it is intended to deceive people. When you begin to understand that the person you love is deceiving you just so they can win an argument, they'd rather be right than kind. That's the ego aspect. Then it's like, why are we in a relationship? Because I love you and I'll give you my unconditional love, but you love me and you want me to be conditioned? And you actually am proud of yourself that you can pull one over on me? And that just is like, no, I don't want to do it. So when you look at this, they are telling you the truth, partly, and then they misleading you and omit certain crucial information. But because it's presented in a way that distorts the picture into their favor, it looks like you're the crazy one. You don't know what you're talking about. You're stupid. They control the narrative. And if you start to go, but then they're going to blame or they're going to be hurt or they're going to intensify the emotion in the story. And there is this thing called, let me see if I get it right, reaction abuse. Now, I remember sitting there going, there's not really about emotional abuse. It's not really about mental abuse. It's not physical abuse, not sexual abuse, but it's a reactionary abuse. And as soon as I gave a reaction or a communication on the subject, then they would twist it a little bit further to make me feel guilt or shame. And then they would take all of anything that I could say, they would counter predict it. Okay. They would preempt it. They would have an answer for it. So I had this last person that I really cared for, but they, for some reason, ended up hating me. And so they gave me a 20-minute blast of, you think this way, here's an answer. You can't say that, here's the answer. So they kept taking tiny bit of truths, and then they tried to solve the problem, and then accuse me of this, then say this. There was no, I just was like, if that's the way you feel, I will love you and set you free, because no amount of abuse here. There's no way to defend myself. And why do I have to defend myself? You don't honestly want this relationship. So why am I putting effort into something you don't want? So this half truth, they can do these things and they can say these things, and you will fall for it if you have a heart and you have empathy and you don't understand how to use your sensitivity. Hi, Angela. If you don't know, Autumn says, because it might hurt you and it brings control. Yes. And what gets me is why people want to be so sadistic. My heart says that's just not who I am. So Why then am I receiving it? Because that's what I knew growing up. But why am I still allowing it? Well, part of the growth is when you start seeing relationships in this fashion and you keep them in your space anyway because you love them or there's no other way of life. But yet part of you is dying. Part of you is not being able to achieve where you need to go. And I would always feel insane. And I would be going, what's wrong with me? I've got a great life. I've got this. I got this. Everything's working. And this is a great life. But yet it was either heaven state of mind or hellish state of mind. And I'm like, but I would rather, it's like, I do have a choice. I do have a choice. So when I started to learn, no, I started to do better. So as I learned that he would take this particular truth and then he would build the story, I could feel my emotions playing into a story like a great movie. We watched a really good movie last night. And I thought, if you really look at the storyline, it's really good. But man, can you feel from different perspectives? I've been there. Oh, wow. This, yeah. How are they going to do that? Because this is about situations of love. And oh, how do you do all these things, right? So I realized that when I'm with people, what I have to deconstruct, I need to clean out, I got to change, is falling for everybody's story that has an emotional appeal. But when you go to talk to them or communicate, you're an object, you're nothing, and they want to be right versus being kind. And they don't want to grow with you, they just want to be right. And I'm like, this is not the relationship for me. So I will walk away and they will go, oh, you coward, or you're this. And see, I told you, like, I'm not going to get sucked back in to where you're messing with my psyche. No, you're not allowed in that space anymore. And I don't care what you say. And again, if they can't control you, then they'll take all of the people that love you and help them create a story for them. And then they'll turn around and they'll hate you. This is gathering minions. Well, fine. If you don't love me, you can keep them. And so I learned about reactionary abuse is because the moment I try to defend myself, then they will use this omission, these half truths, these gaslighting, this way of winning the fight. And this isn't about winning. It's not competition. It's about, can we both be heard? Can we stop both being invalidated? Can we, and I was just like, this is just unreal. And so I've had to heal all these different levels of me in order to understand. So I'm teaching you what I've learned. So when the reactionary abuse, again, it wasn't physical, mental, emotional, it was reactionary abuse. So every time I tried to defend myself, I'd have to get louder. And if I didn't get louder, I got more physical, because it was brainwashing to the max. And it's like I'd be sitting there and the conversation would go one way and I'm like, but that's not true. And then all of a sudden they would go, watch. And then all of a sudden I would just, I couldn't find words. And then I would get mad and I'd say, just stop. And they go, look, she's crazy. They had an audience. They wanted to win. And I'm like, but this isn't a sport. This is what's called love, and I am not playing the game, because this isn't about winning. It's about loving, and I cannot do this. So reactionary abuse happens when a victim or abuse reacts to that abuse in a way which is include physical violence or shouting of their own. And this beautiful woman named Carly Fleischman that is on the spectrum, severe spectrum. So she has to move, she has to jerk this and this, and she couldn't talk, she was mute and this. And she taught herself how to communicate through the computer with one keystroke at a time. It was painful. But what she communicated to her loved ones is that just because I can't talk, just because I can't do this, just because you think I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I don't understand. I hear everything you're saying and it hurts. I hurt just like you hurt. I just can't defend myself. So she would have all this energy that would come at her, and all she saw was energy. And some energy would be so harmful that she would end up hitting herself, so that the pain, by creating physical pain, the other pain would stop, because it was not, you couldn't feel it. You couldn't, I mean, you could see it, but you could feel it, but you couldn't communicate it. It's like telling the person, shut up, because I just, so a few years ago, I had that one person that 20 minutes screaming at me, telling her how nasty I am, how this, and you can't, she came up with every conclusion that because you did this, and don't deny it, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, why couldn't, oh, and I thought, what? I said, Spirit, why did I have this happen? Because I had to see what reactionary abuse is, because a part of me wanted to react, and it's like, no, I don't need to. I don't need to put meaning to the story. I don't need to give that person my power. I already left a relationship that wanted to win instead of be kind. And when and what led up to it was this communication process of, I'm doing my thing, I'm running my school, or I'm running my show, however it was. So there has to be some, it's my project. And so because I didn't let they learn so they can tell the whole world how much smarter they are than me, or that they understand this and give me a star or any of that. It's like, because I didn't acknowledge them the way they thought they'd be acknowledged, even though I said, thank you for that example of this and that, I got such a reactionary abuse, right? I got a action abuse, but when I tried to defend myself, it was, you're not allowed. I need everybody to know that it's your fault and I'm the victim. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. What is this? And I couldn't understand it for the longest time. But I know that I kept healing and tapping and changing and balancing my brain. And then it dawned on me as I'm healing my littles, it's these dang half truths and this omission, that you cherry pick certain things so it's in your favor. So when you are sitting there being hurt, you cherry pick to win the fight. And you have to, if you're just in the left brain and you're disconnected from your spirit, you gotta go, yeah, that's it. Okay, no, if I say this or that, no. And you gotta prepare for war. And so I would always heal that I don't have to be this person don't have to be in my head 41 thoughts per minute all day for 5 weeks, 6 years, or whatever. I can take and I can just balance my brain, and I can look at how I am trying to survive by winning the fight in my head about what you said and done. And then when I break that connection and that entanglement cord, when I break how I think that you're showing up, you can be able to show up more real. Again, those people can't show up to me any other way than I let them, because I've been exposed to that. This is what I've seen. And it's always escalated. But it doesn't mean I have to let these people back in my life. They can still be that person, but I can also heal out so that the next person that comes to my life doesn't have to show up that way in my scalar field. Can be done with that and change that particular entanglement cord. So, but I had to pay attention to these half truths. Apparently, the person that I sent the audio to did not, can't access it, maybe. So I will look and see. No. So, Amy, are you able to? I think I sent them to you too. But and I haven't cracked it fully open. So this is why it's important that you stay focused on wanting to crack that matrix, that egg open, so that you can live as your whole being and not just the storyline, where you're, like Einstein said, you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. And so I want to have my higher self help me crack open this matrix, this egg, of the ego, the electromagnetic guiding omni-apparition, and crack that open and say, wait a minute, I don't have to over-identify with matter. Some of you are like, what are you talking about? Well, if this was a lens, and this is the ego, the electromagnetic guiding apparition, and it's just a lens, but the moment that your spirit goes, what? Oh my God. And what happens is ends up wearing it, becomes a mask, or it becomes that we're inside of a shell, and we can only see at that level. We can't go beyond it. And we can do whatever we want with fighting and all of this to get yourself out of it. But to truly heal and to change that matrix, you have to crack that egg open. So these, I have had other half truths, and like somebody will do something in front of me, and I will say, "Hey, pick that up," and they'll say, "What are you talking about?" They will literally, mind f you and right in front of you, and you're like, "What are you talking about?" And then to the point where you bend down to pick it up, and they're like, "Oh," and they still are going to not admit that they did it, but they just got you to do it, to take care of it, throw it away, do whatever it is that you have to do. And so some of these half truths, again, I wish I would have wrote it down. So I'm in the car and I said, Spirit, show me, and I'll teach you in this new class how to communicate with Spirit, because you do it every day, all the time. But if you can really understand from a higher self versus your lower self judgment, higher self to get in more information. And I get in the car and the lady's talking about certain things, and I'm like, there's a half truth right there. One of the half truths was that here somebody would have like a box of Oreo cookies and they would eat them all, and they have like maybe one left. They go, "Oh, hey, would you like a cookie?" And I'm like, "Oh, I won't take your last one." "No, go ahead and take that last one." "Oh, well, thank you." So you go to eat it. Once you're finished, they're like, "God, you ate them all." And I'm like, "But I didn't. I only had," and they're like, then they would be arguing. But what they wanted me to do was to go out and use my money to buy a whole new box to replenish the fact that I ate them all. When I didn't eat them all they did was offer me one. And then they started to do their half truths. In omissions, you leave out piece of information. Are you guys even relating to what I'm saying? Because this happens almost all the time. They tell you you're the problem. Exactly. "Hi, Vicky. How are you doing?" But to see it. So, Amy, you're not able to recall those audios. I think I've already gave the. I think I've already give the information. But anyways, I'd like to hear you paying attention to these half truths. And again, it'll usually be how they can get away with telling you these truths is because as long as it's like, for instance, "I didn't scratch your car." And in their mind, it's like, in this moment, right now, in this 30 seconds, "No, I did not. Don't tell me I did," when maybe an hour ago you did, or the yesterday you did. Okay, it's bumped. I gotta find it. I have no idea how to get to that. Amy must have wrote it, but it's not coming up. It's bizarre. Oh, yeah, those. Okay, so no, it's not for me. I can't get to those. But so just take a moment and listen. When somebody tells you that, "Yeah, I've done my homework last week, not right now," they're not lying to you, because it's where is their frame of reference. How can they get away with it? Just think about it. How can they get away with it? Because it is which perspective, which lens are they looking through when you ask? Okay, who's with me? This is not something that's easy to see, but you can begin to see it, but you have to pay attention. So if you ever got to the point where somebody goes, okay, I'll convince them. So they'll start talking about a story, and you're supposed to sit there and relate, and you realize it's a setup so that they would get you to look from the different point of view, or to think that their way is the best way. I mean, most of the TV shows, like I'm watching a particular comedy, and it is all about let me talk to him, let me talk to him, and then I can convince anybody into anything. But that's not really being honest. It is, this is my reality and I'm going to control it. I'm going to get you to do the best outcome because I think this is the best outcome from me. Not necessarily the best outcome from you, but the way you want to do it inconveniences me. And I don't want to be inconvenienced. So I'm going to convince you. Now, this is another way of doing it. Okay, I just can't access it. That was the point. I wanted you to look at it and then tell me what I said. But I think I think I remembered it. So, and it was just the story of the car and the half truths. But I think I figured it out, so it's okay. But thank you. So, when we look at, and I do appreciate you putting it there so I can look at it later instead of me researching. So all that effort is not wasted. I really appreciate it. So when a person feels that they are needing to control or they're not really wanting your approval. They want to see if you're going to follow it. And if you don't follow it, then they have to beef up their game to get you. They'll put all that extra energy and attention until you give them approval to what they're saying and you're going to follow it. Now that becomes a problem because then you're like, but I don't want to. But if you're the type of person that says yes just so they'll shut up, and now you got to follow through, or are you a promise breaker? Okay. So I was a person that always kept my promises. You will follow their energy field. Yes. I was a person that always kept my promises. I believed in that strong commitment and to be have ethics and feeling morally, so it's the standard to which I wanted to live my life by love. And it was the standards to which they would use to pin me against the wall and use shame and guilt in order for me to correct myself, to judge myself, to get into that low self-esteem and put that seed of doubt in. And it's like, stop, stop, stop. When I watch people use who I am against me in guilt and shame because they're saying, Cece, you did it too. That's not about getting even. It's about twisting it so that we don't, they, I want to have a relationship as an adult. I want to have a relationship with someone that is more mature. I don't care if they're 60, 80, or 100. And if they've not mentally or emotionally or spiritually evolved, I don't really care to have a relationship on a deep level. So, but they expect 100% from you. They twisted it that makes you a bad guy. Yes. And so I don't choose to like to play those games. And so now when I start to see that somebody's playing these games, I'll call you out. Or I'll just get up and walk away because it's not worth it. And I don't care what no amount of name calling or guilt or shaming will get me to want to be your friend or your relationship. And that's why I said it's okay to lose your family and friends, because I'm not playing that. I'm not placating so that you're safe. You don't give a rat's ass about me. Now I can be there and I can help and I can show you love and I can hold support and I can help you feel safe, but it's not my job all the time. And if you need me in that vulnerable moment, I will hold that space until you can return back to how you can learn to love yourself and help yourself. I hope you got something out of today's communication. And because give me feedback. Again, don't just take this information and just think, you want out of the matrix, you want to change it. So you watched me during this whole 40 minutes to communicate about how I'm cracking that egg open. And that is that part of living in a limitation. And I know that I don't have to fall for all the half truths or the emotional story. I don't have to. They want to invoke a meaning. I am work on my aura, and I don't have to be invoked. I don't have to fall for being invoked to get that emotional play that they are looking for in the conversation. Now, like I said, there is a different way to communicate or have relationships. And me and my husband, Alan, is an amazing man. And he sits there and we both look and say, wait a minute, we want something greater than this external thing that says we're supposed to act and be this way. We want it more than that. And so we're learning how to become a spiritual human. We're learning how that we are already spiritual, but we don't know how to make that spiritual being human. We know how to be human. We know how to separate that and be spiritual. We know how that we can have hypocrisy and that do as I say, not as I do, and you can't do that if I can't do that, and da 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 da. That is so separated. So I'm here to bridge spirit and science. I'm here to be on that bridge with you. I'm here. We're creating that bridge. We're creating that third option so that we can communicate in a different way. Now, is Miss April Lynn around? Because as soon as she's here, then she'll be our first guest. So, oops. Anyway, let's see. Oh, you deleted a message. Okay. Yeah, you don't have to follow their truth. And you love somebody, this is the thing, we believe they're telling us the truth, but sometimes they don't even know that they're lying. Sometimes they don't even know. They literally have talked that way, thought that way, walked and talked that way, that they don't know how to be anything other than that. And I have decided, no, I am going to be this person that and I talked about it before, but I'm creating a list of what I would like to be, and this is not one of them. I don't need to give you half truth. I don't need to leave omission out. Now, if I'm guilty, I need to learn how to be responsible. But I also don't have to be responsible when somebody sits there and twists it because they're in pain. But I'm also going to realize that it's okay that if they're going to accuse me of something, I have the right to defend myself. But I also realize I don't have to defend myself if that's what they want, is to have an argument. I don't want people that love to argue in my space. Now, me and my husband, we sit there and we just love communicating on a deeper level. And we have these beautiful communications, and it just is so bonding and intimate on different things. I want you to create your own reality. Exactly. But again, you may not be culpable. It's not your fault. But at the same time, you're the one that's got to decide, I'm done with this particular field. I'm not doing this anymore. And that's where, oops, sorry, that's where I go and I help you decide how to heal, how to change the thought processing so you don't have to sit there and fall for it or sit there and believe everybody's story. You can, change the definition. You can change the way that you express yourself. There we go. But when you're stuck in the past, when you're stuck in your pain, when you're stuck, you are saying that this has happened, this is true, and you learn to break your heart over and over and over. And that's fine. That is an option. But I also know that I didn't want to drive myself crazy because I didn't want to become physically sick. I didn't need to start dying off. I needed to take charge of my sanity. And that's why I teach about safety, security, stability, sanity, serenity, and space. Now, these are 6 S's, and that's also the name of my healing tool, Success Hope Therapy. Success is Hope Therapy. Because it does create a certain amount of success in you. Now, I'm looking for Miss April Lynn. I got to see where she's at. Oops, that's not the right button. Neither's that one. Okay. I'm gonna Oh. She probably is still sleeping, so I know that. So when she comes on, she comes on. Today's subject, again, so you watch me cracking open my egg. I'm sitting there and I'm pausing and I can't think, but yet I reassess, connected to my higher self, and I can hear. Again, if somebody sits there, it's the angle to where they are. It's in the moment. They can zero in, and when they know they're being accused, they can say that's not true, and they're probably saying either in this moment, not now. When somebody says it's not true, it doesn't mean that it's not true. But those that love to do half truths, omission, to blame, to live in that particular perspective, you have to understand not everybody does this. Some people may do parts of it, some people may do all of it, but there's different levels and grades and spaces that you are at. So you have to look at it how we're in grade school to uh, graduate school. And people don't like the truth because of most of the time that they're living as just their physical self. Thank you, Lisa. Just living as their physical self and not their spiritual self. They won't understand what you're talking about. But when I'm talking about living as a spiritual human, when I'm talking about looking at I'm going to heal and change the way that I act and behave. I'm going to change my definition. I'm going to heal how I'm reacting to you. Hey, Alan, if that's you, I'd like my coffee. So, you know, see, I just asked Spirit and I heard him outside and oh, darn, I missed my coffee. And then all of a sudden he's right there. I'm like, ooh. So sometimes Spirit can communicate with you in such a unique way and really fast. But if a person sits there and you call them out, that's when they don't like the truth. It's when you call them out doing the action, and they cannot be responsible for saying, "Yeah, I just did that action." But when they turn it around and call you out, but they're not calling you out, they're twisting the facts. They're doing these things because they're coming from this different perspective. I don't come from masochistic, sadistic type of way of being. I believe that should not be in the relationship if you're wanting an authentic one. But if you want authenticity, you also have to understand your sovereignty, the ability to govern thyself. And if I'm looking over here and I'm saying, I can do that, but you can't. Don't do as I do. I'm going to do the habit, but I'm going to raise you or I'm going to communicate. Don't do it. If I can't do it, you can't do it. Don't live by limitations. Don't live in where you have the electromagnetic guiding omni-apparition, which is the ego, and don't live inside that matrix. Because if you have this on, the mask stays. You can't take it off and then go inside. You have to be stuck in the problem, the mind that created it. The limitations of like I said, how Einstein said you can't solve the problem because you have the problem, but the mind is the one that created the problem. But if you're in the same state of mind and you don't go for a walk and you don't tap and you don't heal and you don't change the brain, then you're going to come up with answers that solve that problem. But then you're going to say, oh, that didn't work. Let me try this. No, that didn't work. Or you'll be very hypocritical. Or hypocrisy. But you have to not live out two sides of your mouth. You have to learn how to integrate. They hear it, they don't want to own that they are doing that thing and they are being called out. Exactly. And there's a lot of shame and pain and hurt when being called out, receiving it and or giving it. Now, I don't like to give it, but at the same time, I also am going to have healthy boundaries. So if a person is in my life that is constantly having to do the same pattern because that's just who they are, and they're telling me that they'd healed it, and yet they're going to do it again, don't walk away with somebody telling you who they are. Don't become a victim to, yeah, they won't do it to me. You wait, your turn's next. So you have to decide. And for me, I love this person, but I also love me. And I don't want to do insanity. I don't want my freedom to be restricted and have to wait because so and so has to give me direction. I don't want to do all this. Yeah, you're not, nobody sees. Right here. Nobody sees. Thank you. And I appreciate you. Love you. And but see, they don't realize they took it personal. So someone said to me, but you did this to me. I'm like, first of all, the meaning of what I did to you is what the meaning you put on it. But I had already told you I'm doing it. So how did I do it to you if I already told you I'm already going to be this way and I'm not going to stop being this way? So how did I do it to you? So what meanings do we put on ourselves? What meanings and how did we get there? Do you understand? How did we get there? You following? So, like, we have a hard time hearing it. So I would start there. Why do I feel? I can measure the pain. It hurt. They're telling me that I've done something wrong. So I will go heal this, right? So I will measure it and I will feel the pain and I'll process the pain. And if I do it enough times and I get it down to zero and I do it from many angles, different layers, it doesn't mean it came back. I'm just looking at the different perspectives. Then all of a sudden, when when you're no longer doing it, but yet they can only see you doing it, predict it and say, wait a minute, I'm not doing it. Then usually if you won't realize it, but they're not looking at you in the now, they're looking at you at the time that they hurt, they haven't healed their shit. So they're looking through that lens that could have been 5 years ago. But you do not have to be responsible for taking that on. That's miscommunication. There's no growth with each other. Now, if they are afraid that you're going to do it again, they can heal that fear. They can heal how they saw that. But if they want to grow, but you also have to respect that that's where they want to be. But we don't have to take it on and say, and re-injure ourselves or reinstall if they have not moved on. You getting this, right? You've healed it. You've changed it. You know you're not doing that, but you're still being accused. But you have to stop and say, wait a minute. And you really see, again, so when somebody says that, so I will look, yeah, no. And I realize that I'll say, tell me when, how old do you think I am? Give me the incident. And if they give me like 5 years ago or 6 months ago or whatever, and I have not done it in that long time, I don't have to reinstall it. This is huge for your growth. If they're stuck as a broken record and keep repeating it, they have not let go of the root or that moment, and they have to keep bringing up that issue and issue over and over and over. But it's fine if you keep doing it, but if you have actually chose not to do that and you have healed that and you've changed that, and they can't accept the fact that you have changed, you are out of frequency, and literally you can find someone that's more matching because you've leveled up. Now, some of you will dumb yourself down so that you don't lose that partner because you believe that you don't have the confidence or the security or the strength to just be you at that stage. So you give up on yourself. Now, there are some truths that people don't want to hear the truth, but it depends on what truth it is. When somebody tells me that we're in two different opinions, I mean, I know what I know, you know what you know, so you know and do. So I'll give you an example. We're both right and we're both wrong. The world's flat. No, the world's round. Both of them have evidence. Both of them present the evidence. Both can't hear the other, but both of them are not in the same timeline. Both of them are not in the same frequency because now it becomes just interference patterns. But if you choose that you want to fight or you're trying to get them to believe what you believe, why can't you accept that that's what they're doing? You don't have to cave in and believe the way they believe. You can agree to disagree. You with me? Look at between cooks. When people cook with different temperatures, but they don't pay attention making bread. So when it's too cold out, sometimes the yeast won't rise. So you have to figure out a way to make the bread rise. Stick it in the oven on a very low temperature, not really baking it, but just enough of an environment that it's not cold. Or you have different levels of air atmosphere. It will affect the baking. Now, who's right? But again, the more you know, the more you'll do. You got to be willing to learn something. Okay. But if you get stuck in your limitation, you get stuck from your point of view, and you get stuck, all you want is their approval. And if you really only want just their approval, then that means that then, you will be a dominant force and you have to control it so you can be right. So again, if you're in your ego, it is just forgetting that you're spirit and you are in this limited space inside that brain that created it. Then what happens is you can't move from that particular time and space. That collapsed, the ability to collapse time and space, you haven't moved from that perspective. And you want everybody around you to live the way you live. That means you're living in the first 3 chakras. You haven't developed the rest of you. Some people just see you as a threat. Absolutely. For whatever reason, and it's just a way to control you. Absolutely. It's very interesting to threatening to that person. Yes, because maybe they've had an experience at 3 and that's all they can see in that signature of a person. Oh, there's April. Hold on, hon. I'll send you a link in a second. But it's not up to us. You don't have to keep them in your life. You have to be okay to say, family and friends, goodbye. Just leave their life quietly. But the idea of making sure that you don't live with, I got to be right. I'd rather be right than kind. And I have to be right or I'm going to die. No, you do not have to be in the ego, in that limited space. You do not have to live separate from God. You do not have to live just in the first 3 chakras. You do not have to live there. But if a person is, you can respect that that's where they are, and that's so you're done. That's it. You just let them be there. But that's not what you came in to go further. So the more you know, the more you do. But the more you know, and if you don't take action and change your doing, then you can't really walk your talk. I'm having a great time discussing things with you guys today. Just be your higher self, authentic self, and others will respond in whatever way they are comfortable. Yes. And you'll weave in and out of relationships, and you will actually draw higher relationships that match more of who you are. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Vicki. But it's up to you in your space, your orbit, your aura. Who and what do you want to be? And you will sometimes have to change the instructions in the scalar field here, the shared reality with this person. And this is so important that if you so used to growing up in the first 7 years of your life and you're attracted to this person, oh, aren't they cute? And then you be with them, you are only being attracted to what you've learned, not necessarily being attracted because they're cute and whatever, but it is familiar. It's what you know. It sounds like mom and dad. It sounds like your life. And even though I didn't want to be around somebody that was an alcoholic or physically abusive, I was around somebody that I hadn't healed out yet, and that was someone that was a gaslighter, someone that was a half-truther, someone that left omissions, that always wanted to win, that always wanted to be the ego, and always wanted to be right. And I'm like, stop. I want to be in a relationship that both hearts matter. We're living in the spiritual human realm, and that both of us are important. Neither one of us are objects. We don't have to invalidate in order to win in the argument of the relationship. So when you start watching somebody that you want to be with and you watch how they are in an argument, And if they have to invalidate, hurt, cut down, you shame and guilt, then maybe you want to think twice, because they're showing you what they'll do to you when you're sitting in an intimate setting where you're both misaligned. And if only they can see you as a threat, maybe one, I would heal. People see me as a threat. I have to change those belief systems. So my frequency in my field will be at a different, higher space instead of just in a lower frequency where it creates nocebos. So I will change in me these things. Yes, if I don't need to draw people into me that are always in fear. I don't need to draw people into me that are always having to win the fight. So you could end up marrying somebody that just is what you learned as a kid, as a gaslighter. But you can be so much more than that. And that's the thing. I hope you got something out of today's message. Exactly. And it has nothing to do, it's about them. And we can hold space and love them. And those that are open to it, they'll heal. But they have learned for many years, I got to protect myself. It's always on that Maslow's hierarchy of need. I need to be safe, secure. So it's safety, stability, sanity, serenity, space, and missed one, but safety, security, stability, sanity, serenity, space. And that's freedom. But at the same time, now I love my husband. Alan is so amazing. We know. Well, hold on. If we're upset, we'll heal our shit first before we come and talk to each other, because we do not need to bring our emotional baggage from every relationship we've had all the way down to birth. No. We are going to change our brains. We're going to change the emotions. We're going to change the mental, the meanings. And then when we do, we usually don't have to sit down and talk to one another, because it's not about blaming them. It's about our resilience, our evolving and resolving to evolve. Okay. Today was a great discussion. I believe we're probably going to talk more about that in tribal. And if you are into that, where you heal each week and you talk about deep things, then tribal may be for you. So come on over. It's only $42 a month. It's really cheap. And I can't remember what it breaks down per week, but it's cheap. But at the same time, I'm also coming up with a different class. Haven't decided what it is, but it will be a weekly class, and you can join or not join. You don't have to create a full package, but it is about learning spirituality, how to become a spiritual healer. Spiritual investigator. It's more than that. We're going to create a bridge. We're going to learn how to communicate with spirit. We're going to learn how to not just be stuck in the phenomenons or the spookies or the woo-woos. It is learning how to operate as the authentic you. Okay, so we're going to bring April on in just a second. And then we have Coco. We're going to give Coco and Autumn, because they paid. And then we will then probably Amy after that. But if you'd like, if I've never given you a reading before, you get a free one. But if I have, and you're like, oh, but I want it, you can have a 5, 15, or 25. 25 allows you to come on. We can communicate. You don't always need video. But there's a chat for 15, or 5 for a quickie. So it's up to you. But I'm here to empower you. Oh, here she comes. Have not seen my sunshine in a while. Hi, how are you? Oh, hold on. We've got one more button to get. There we go.
Hello.
Hi, hon. Hi. Oh, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we can just jump in. You had a question, and I'm not sure exactly which area you wanted to go, because you said something about flying. I don't know if it's
Well,
a station or.
the last couple weeks, I've been kind of nervous about flying,
Okay.
but then my mindset changed this morning, but I was like, I still want to get a reading
All right.
because now I feel that I will be protected by my son while I'm flying.
Oh, absolutely. He's very strong, very strong. Absolutely. So we're going to look at, why would she even need to have a reaction? She was aware of it. And thank God, part of awareness is she's like, I don't really have to believe my own BS, but I am very aware that it's sitting there and I can feel all those emotional chemical peptides. So we're looking at your 6-year-old self that really felt like I can't do something. And it was when you took your whole self, your physical self, and having to do something that was scary. Now, as I'm looking at your 6-year-old self, I says, were you ever like a plane situation that there's a part of dying or whatever? And they said, this is somebody else's belief. So who in your family is afraid of flying?
My mother is fearful
Okay.
of anything.
Understand to know that not only would you be born with the epigenetics of that emotional story, so you would be gathering and taking on her meanings that could be potentially yours. But now you popped out of the womb, you are also then going to have to experience in your field and carry all of her stories with you because you're thinking this is how you have to do life. So now I'm going to ask, why did Spirit choose 6 years old? Your 6-year-old said that, well, I felt deficient based on the stories, the energies. And they said more of the, because talking, but it was the tone and the gesture. So it wasn't necessarily words. So I says, what is more, tone? No, the gestures. And it would be a frightened, gesture. So when you really think of your mother, can you see where she would have a gesture? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Okay. Now your 6-year-old thought that was cute. Oh, I like when my mom does that. So you got some identifiers. And so then you'd grow up and go, oh, yeah, I'm scared of that too. And because you'd have pictures in your head about how you're supposed to act. But if I said, is that really you? And they go, no, it is how I defined that when I'm faced with something I don't have enough knowledge to do, then I'm going to have to project out and I'm going to have to see this and define it as I'm supposed to be scared. Now, that argues with your 11-year-old self. And I said, what do you mean? You got a different meaning? 11-year-old says, yeah. And I said, and then there's an older part of you when you were about 22. I said, so those two are saying, I learned, you told me a story one time, and so this might relate to 11 and 22. I thought when I'd go in the next town, we had to, prepare this, do this and that, because it's going to be the end of the world. We got to make sure there's gas, there's tires, everything. Blah, 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 blah. And then it was only like a 5-minute drive, but it felt like when I was a kid, it was like 2 hours, 2 days, whatever. And then when you got older, you're like, we're here already? When you started to understand the concept of time as a human and the distance, okay? And your brain was like, well, what? Okay. So now we got the same kind of concept for this flying bit. Now, have you ever flown before? Or is this the first time?
No, I've flown before, but I've also gotten airsick before.
Okay. So now this is what I've got to look at because then your 6-year-old is saying, I don't like the feelings. Now I said, are these feelings when you were 6, are they real? Yes, they're real. I said, okay. And so you've equated that. And I says, well, tell me. Well, I felt deficient, mentally prepared, and I um, didn't really feel I was supported by my parents. So I feel like you were going to do some type of adventure that, oh, you kind of already know what I'm going.
Well, no, you're hitting on it, but my ex-husband is who I flew with.
Okay.
So I got airsick, but I didn't have support from him.
Okay. Now,
You're
so her spirit has said, look, we have this incident at this age. So now you can go and hear and more about when you were 6, you
mhm.
had an experience and it scared you and you didn't have support about this could have been going to school, this could have been taking a field trip, you don't exactly know what that means, field trip, what, you know what I mean, or an
Yeah.
excursion or some, but there wasn't enough. But when it's like all I can see is that I told my mother and my mother gave me this, and you put the picture, the gestures to this experience. Does this make sense?
Yeah, but I think it goes back to my great aunt because everyone
Okay.
else, when you're a little cute girl, oh my gosh, look how cute she is. Come here, give me a hug or talk to me. Hey, did you draw something? That. I mean, I was surrounded by love except for that one person. And then she was just so hateful. And then my
Yeah.
mother and my grandmother was like, oh, she's coming over. You have to behave a certain way now. So they made that face because they didn't want
Oh,
to feel the argument or the hate,
exactly.
the energy.
Okay. Now I'm agreeing with that. Your body's agreeing with that. So now we're going to take that information. And how does this have to do with flying? They said you have a physiology. So the body, the physiology in the body. So let's look a little bit further. They said the triple warmer is that you know that you're going to get manipulated. And so the body is saying, I'm going to get manipulated. And I said, from grandma, mom, from the aunt, from the environment. So, not necessarily a person. So, again, you're going to be convinced that being up in a plane, it's going to manipulate you. Okay. The brain said, I am, I don't want my head to go wobbly. So, this goes to, we'll get to the physiology in just a second. Have you ever had virtual reality headset?
No, I've never done
No.
one.
Okay. So virtual reality headset, you put that on, and if the picture, like your computer screen, if the HERTZ is off just enough, your brain will go wobble, 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 and your brain will make you sick. Not necessarily your ears. Okay. Your
Hmm.
brain will go, my sensory system is way too much. This is why a lot of people have problems with certain sounds, certain pictures. So virtual reality, you put that on, and if the game maker is that they're learning how to make it. They don't understand all of the coordinates. So you watch it and you're in there for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden it's a great game, and all of a sudden your head starts swimming. Okay.
I feel
So
like that's what I'm doing right now. I just
okay.
feel like I'm hot and like my
Yes.
triple warmer's going
Now,
off and
exactly. So you're being manipulated by the past. But then it's also like when like when I gave birth the first time, oh my God, I never want to go through that again. That when started to be pregnant for the second time, I was scared crapless. And then it came time to actually, my water broke and I went into a panic attack. And that there is like insanity right there,
yeah.
because you don't think you're ever going to come out of that thing. So what your brain is doing is so the connector is plain off the ground. I've had this experience before. Now the different factor is you don't have the X. now,
Right.
now one of the things you know and do is that I said, is this nauseation have to do when the air pockets affect the ears? They said sorta. So let me explain. Um, flown quite a bit, never had it before, and I then fall and distort my, and I have a deviation in my nose and all these other things. Somehow caused it so when I went into the plane again, all of a sudden I thought, "Kill me now." The excruciating what happens to the ear, and it's what's happened to children. Like children will start screaming when the altitude and all that drops, and it
Mhm.
messes with the inside of the ear. It is the most painful thing I've ever felt. It felt worse than giving birth. And I just like not panicking. I just can't control this pain. And I started to just be very loud, and I realized I'm one of those people that you're like, oh God, no, I'm now one of those people. And the guy next to me, he goes, okay, he said, do this, do this. He's look at me, do this. And 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 so I copied him. As soon as I started to copy him, all of a sudden it released, and then the airplane leveled out and I was better. So you can put earbuds in, you can do these little things. But so as I'm looking, your brain is saying when the air pockets, when you literally feel these certain air pockets, you don't really have the ear thing as much as the nauseation thing. So can you do Ferris wheels or roller coasters?
Um, I can do a Ferris wheel. Roller coasters, I don't really like it. Like gives me a headache.
Okay. Now, my mother used to drive up and down hills really fast, so our tummies would go wee, wee.
Yeah.
Okay, now I could do this as a kid, but when I get older, my brain goes, "What are we doing?" Wobble, 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 and I want to get sick. Not necessarily I can't handle the ride, but my brain is like, no. So it's not necessarily fear. It is, I don't want the feeling of.
Mm-hmm.
So your physiology says, I don't want the feeling of that nauseation, that I can't control the situation. It's not necessarily about dying, but when you're in the need of the support from a loved one in the situation of you don't know what the hell's going on,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't get it. You got, I feel like, scrutinized. That look. Did he give you a gesture, a look of disappointment?
It would
Or,
just be, you know, the,
okay. Now, that is also the part that almost equals pain in itself.
oh
Okay.
yeah.
So without
And
knowing it,
I feel that that's what I am like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have the support because I feel like I'm going on the trip with my ex, but I know that I'm not
right, right. Even though you're
because,
not, you're going to be looking for in your field, in your scalar field, you're going to be looking, and let's say across one seat over, someone will give you that same damn look. It will actually intensify where you're already at, and you can't ground yourself to make it stop. Okay. So now if I go on trips, my husband and I are going, and we're he's giving me that support and all this because it's like, okay, get ready. So I don't have to go into that extreme panic attack because when it happened again, but I learned the more you know, the more you do. So what we're going to do is in the physiology level, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be working on how the trip performer says, I have to be manipulated by the gestures of people, meaning in that scalar field, you got to show up that way. And you're like, but I don't want to show up that way. Okay. So you're going to be working on the neck area and the particular emotion or the understanding is how you're going to be manipulated. When you got that gesture, it manipulated you and it created a story and you knew dang well what they were sending. Does this make sense?
yes.
So hand on head, bend your fingers. Then you're going to tap and you're going to set, like I said, it's the neck area, and you're going to do C1. So you're going to go right to the top first, and you're going to tap on both sides. You're going to get in there, breathing in and out 3 times. And then as you start to do that, breathing in and out, you can go down to C4, go down a little bit to C4, breathing in and out. And then you're going to go to C7, okay, or C6, it's T1. So it's right there at where the neck connects to the shoulders. Just get to breathing, breathing, and breathing. Because the thing that scared you the most is that picture. So while you're doing this, I want you to put that picture of the gesture in your mind's eye for me. And as you're looking at it, when you're looking at it, can you see where you're staring? It's not through one eye or the other. Can you see how you're like, I know that gesture?
Yeah, I was visualizing my mom, but I
Good. Okay,
wasn't
we'll take that.
actually like looking at her face. I was just kind of like looking at her body from a
Good.
distance, I guess.
Notice it's the frequency and the energies. Okay, it's a gesture. It doesn't have to be the face. And a hand movement, a finger twitch, something. But the point is, you can feel the energy of movement, right? So now you're looking, but notice that you're not necessarily looking through both eyes. You actually have a designated space just for that. And you're like, oh. Now, if I told you to measure where you're looking, 10 being the worst, again, this is the first time you've looked at it. Kid looks directly at that picture of your mother. Go, oh, just stare at it. Now, is it necessarily up in the left or right? Because you were looking kind of like right here down in front.
Well, when I look to the upper left, I get a 5. When I look to the upper right, I get a 3.
Okay, now I don't want, yeah, that's good. Remove, transcend, let go. But I need you to focus on how your mind's eye is carrying it. Look directly at how you can zoom in and look at it. I need you to stare that down because it has all your power at this point. We have created, the mind had created that this is what it is. And so I want you to just feel like you're taking your power off it. And as you're taking your power off it, it starts to change. Now, again, because I noticed that you were looking at it, like I said, down in front of you. But when you conjure up, you're not conjuring. What you're literally doing is looking at how your mind's eye had captured that moment. And you're like, oh my God, yeah, there it is. If you can measure that, you may just think it's a picture without feeling. And you may feel that your feelings are separate, but just look at it. As you start to do that, remove, transcend, let go. Now just look straight up, smell, take a nice deep breath, and then look back down into that picture of how you know the position. Now stare it down, and it'll start to dissipate further. And you're like, no, I don't need to hold that limitation, that story, that belief, and remove, transcend, let go. Then I want you to look straight down and take another deep breath in, because when you look straight down, you're changing the way that you taste and you smell. Okay, very good, very good. Because it's the pictures and all of these things that manipulate. Now, again, just kind of look back at that picture where we started. Is there any attachment to
No, when I look like in front
it?
of me, I see
Mhm.
it faintly, but when I look
Okay,
straight
that's what I
down,
want.
it's not there.
Correct, because it's not there. It is there. So now you know exactly. Let's go back to where that faintly is. You're
Hmm.
working on it. Great. You're doing great. Now, as you're looking at it and it's faintly, I want you to just kind of notice anything that comes up, your physiology. Are you freezing? Are you running?
No,
Want
I
to
got
run?
some chills.
Okay, okay, okay. So remove, transcend, let go. And then now I want you to look to the upper left. And you said there was a number there. Is that anything there?
No,
Remove, transcend, let go. Look to the upper right. Anything there?
no,
Now look back at that space where you said there was something there.
no.
Oh, now notice that you can breathe. So take your hand down just for a moment and realize that we don't have to have that meaning, that definition. You went inside your deep filing cabinet under
Mhm.
gestures, energies about how I'm supposed to remember this time and space. It's not necessarily uh, an experience that's has everything in it. We took a piece of it, right?
Hmm.
But the brain says I've memorized into a habit so strong that I only need a glimpse to tell me exactly the whole file. It's like an
Hmm.
icon, little. Oh, I know what that is, right? But when you're able to zero in right there, that is using your gift of awareness and taking your power back. So good on you. Now I'm going to look a little bit further, and we have to go down to the spleen real quick because that made up the dark night of your soul, your hell on earth, your particular way of being. And every day you're trying to solve it, and you're trying to cope, handle, deal, and pacify it, and then because your brain created it like this, okay, and you can't, you're trying to solve it with the same brain that created it. So now we got to start busting this open just a tiny bit more. And so what we need to do is we need to start to remove it out of the physiology. So this is part of the dark night. You need to go over to feel how that would drive you like crazy. So in this situation is I'm going to get on the plane. I know I'm going to get on the plane, right? But I feel this apprehension, a little of anxiety, a little bit of, but you also know there was a mental shit show when you had got on the plane with your ex.
Hmm.
So I've had to go back to places, and I'm thinking, oh, I want to go back here. And as soon as I get back there, it reconjures up and brings up all of the shit that I had gone through. So it made my holiday experience kind of miserable, right? I had to heal all that. So this is where we're at. You want to get on that plane. You want to freaking enjoy it, regardless if your brain is going to do that. But you can just say, no, we can change this. So right now, that dark night, where'd my happy go? You need to begin to tap at T1, T5, and T9. Let me see if I can find where I put my little piece of paper. For those that are looking, she's going to begin to tap at T1, T5. Where's 5? Right here. And T9. And she's going to change that particular thing. Now, put your hand on your head and think about how it's the dark night. How, oh my God, my head's spinning. He's not supporting me. Oh, okay.
When we were talking about that, the first thing that came into my mind was fakeness. Our
Oh,
relationship was fake. even though it was a company award ceremony that we won, that we went to St. Thomas, and so
Okay.
he won a couple times, but it was like the relationship that I thought that we had was just, it was all fake.
Gotcha. Got you. Okay. But notice that's what your brain just brought up is
Uh-huh.
connected to fake. Okay. So now you know that with your husband now, there is that none of that fakeness, right? So we don't need to
Correct.
apply that fakeness to this relationship or this experience to the plane. Okay. So we're going to help you get unstuck from, sorry, your body just went, okay. So you can let that go. You got them all? Yes. Okay. So I feel like you released something. That was good. Now, when it comes to that swimmy, I want you to this. You can do this offline because we just went over. Um, I want you to it'd be R2S, okay? Because the
Okay.
body says the anticipation of knowing that again, you have to go up and down in those air pockets,
Hmm.
and your body's saying, no, 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 no. You have the amount of saying, no, I can stop this. Okay. So you then start doing R2S. Now that's that is good. You can do it beforehand. But at the time, you may want to um, go on the back of your wrist and you start to prepare it this way and rub it. Now, normally I would just say source point, but you also can rub all three on the back, both arms. Then come to the front, and it's
Okay.
not just this point, but it's all the three. You can rub these points. So usually I will go up and down with my thumb this way, and then I'm rubbing that so that these two systems do not have to, your brain don't have to go blah, 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 okay? So if I know I'm going to do this, I will just kind of rub, sliding my thumb down, and then do the other side as well. So I'm rubbing both sides. And the have you ever seen those acupuncture point wristbands?
Yeah, I already bought some.
Oh, good.
I had those before.
Uh-huh. And again, but your experience was happening. You were trying to seek out love because your
Hmm.
brain was going, what's happening? Again, not enough knowledge. And so you're doing what you can. Now you have more knowledge, you can do better. You can do healthier. You can do this. So, but yeah, so just when you're off working with that anxiety, it's like I don't have to be the gestures or any of this to be my mother. I don't have to take and bring up that familiarity, but I'm going to do it beforehand. So I don't have that
Okay.
attachment. It says, you want her to hold anywhere else? I go, no. We took care of how the body says, oh, I'm supposed to be affected by this. Now, if you start to feel nauseated on the plane, if, and then what should she do? They said, if she could tap um, L5. So that means right, L5 right at the waist, kind of start manipulating that. And then come up to your large intestine as well as here, rub these, but begin to tap, push, manipulate, do some type of succussion on the back there, L5, and I'm just going to call the angels in right now. So say, hey, when she's on that particular flight, could you give her some extra protection to know the frequency that she's safe and that, so I'm going to hold that space for you. Okay.
Thank you.
And
We get
thank
to go
you.
on a train ride too. So
Oh, that'll be
once we
fun
get
too.
there to the top of the mountain.
Oh, pictures, if you don't mind.
Hmm.
Thank you. The only way I can explore certain of those things of the United States at this moment is through people like you that are going to be able to
Oh
enjoy the
yeah, I always
wonders.
upload tons of pictures.
I'll be looking forward to it. All
All
right, hon.
righty.
Love ya. We'll
Thank you
talk to you
very
later.
much.
You're welcome. And bye-bye, hon.
Bye.
I'm hoping all of you can begin to see that we are physical, mental, emotional, and spirit beings. Okay, and literally, you can be affected. You see, she gave you the example of how her body was when she took this trip so many years ago with somebody else, and so that's where you get captured and stuck and collapsing in time and space right there, and that's not where she's living. So we want to help the physical form to say we move beyond that because we're known for, oh, we have a scar tissue or we have a scar or we have this, and we're supposed to memorize this. You're welcome. And it's not true. We don't have to. You can literally begin to tap, you can begin to change it, and the body can show up and evolve just as much with you. So let's do it together. All right, Miss Autumn. Miss Autumn, let me get this up there. I have to look at. So we have Cami Ray. Where is Cami Ray? Okay, Cami, as soon as I'm done with Miss Autumn, okay? So don't go anywhere. But if my phone cuts out, look for Dr. Brenda or come over onto YouTube. Now, when you get any reading on YouTube, then you can rewatch it again many times as you would like. Also, subscribe. All right. Now, okay. Miss Autumn. Now, when you get a reading, I just want to let you know, you don't see it in certain things, but on YouTube, there's a clock behind me. That'll be your timestamp. Okay. Now, Miss Autumn, we're looking at this episode. So I'm in spirit wants me to say, okay, what's happening is there was a certain amount of lofty energy in your brain. So we're looking at how the problem was created with a certain thing. And so the brain says, I feel lofty energy. And therefore, I'm supposed to, you can feel it in your etheric field. So you literally can feel it in that, the scalar field or the etheric field, which is just before it hits the body. What I'm hearing is that there's a certain amount of guilt tripping. And you have to learn this particular guilt tripping. And I said, so is it self-induced? Is it something that somebody said and then I'm reminiscing? It's how I believe I can't do it myself. So I feel like you've looked around and you have to figure out a way because you're looking at yourself and I can't carry these boxes. I can't do this. I don't know. But how am I going to get it? So I got to talk to somebody. I got to get help. But how can I get them? They don't listen to me. So is there a certain person, maybe it's like your father or somebody that you're going to have to, they'll say no, but you have to use a certain amount of guilt in order to get them to do something. Again, this is not for all. This is just parts of it. Okay, so Cami, just let you know that my phone is overheating. I'm going to buy one hopefully this weekend. So you may want to come over to Medicine Woman Solution over here. So you get that. So you understand that. So in these kind of particular conversations, you think it's normal. But what's happening is your brain only sees a mirror. Okay, it only sees a mirror. Because it only sees a mirror, it takes to the point where your how do you want to put this? It thinks it's you. And when you begin to do that and you're like, oh, I got to come from this angle, I've got to express this, there's a certain amount of loftiness in it that when it starts to trip you up, it's like, I don't want to go back to that moment. I don't want to go back to that moment, that dark night of the soul. And I says, what is that dark night of the soul? It's when people put their broadcast energies out. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So I feel really deficient. And I feel like that's part of where an episode could come from is the fact is that the brain says there's a certain amount of loftiness and I have to go. I got to escape. I got to escape. I said, so what kind of loftiness is that was from the originality of this? It's this impending that I have to emotionally suppress my emotions. I said, so when did you learn really this? Oh, about 5 months in the womb. So you have learned that you're supposed to suppress your emotions. And I says, what happens when you suppress what? And they go, these particular emotions, I'm supposed to be helpless. So you learn on an epigenetic thing that you're supposed to be helpless. You have to, in order to make it real, to get help, you have to become helpless. So you have to suppress certain emotions, certain truths, certain things about you in order to get help. And what happens is that the loftiness begins, your own loftiness in that story in your head, because it doesn't know it's real, is that it believes it's happening. So therefore, then the body wants to go and do this. I says, what do you want done? Well, first of all, the pH on that has to be changed because you have been in that situation where you received that guilt tripping or this and that, and you're like, I can't do it again. So you're going to make sure you tap T1, T5, T9. So you're on this screen. So T1, no, you're on this screen. T1, T5, and T9. And you're going to hold that point where it's like, I can't do it again. I can't do it again. But you're also going to have to repeat to do it again. But before you can repeat and do the same points, T1, T5, T9, with the dark night of the soul, we have to unlock it, which means we need to notice that your piece is gone. So you're going to have to use a magnet on the right spleen, right foot, the spleen. So going to the right, not the left. And you're going to go follow that big toe up, and you're going to use a magnet 24 times, deeply rub 30 times, and think about how it's the dark night of the soul. Oh my God, this misery, the blah, blah, blah. And so once you unlock and done that, then you go back, then you're going to go pH, that physiology. Then you're going to hold this, think dark night of the soul, and then you're going to do T1, T5, T9, okay? Because your brain is saying, this is real. And we have to get your brain to realize, just like as you do, that this is just you thinking and it's not real, and that you don't have to lose power to that energy. So if it comes up, you don't have to do the familiar thing and repeat it and check out and repress. Okay. All right. So this is, you're doing good. So keep healing. So before we get over to Cami, we're going to just finish off with her second payment, which is Coco. All right. So Coco. Now, is there something particular when Coco's looking at you? Coco thinks that it has to parent you. Coco believes that it's got to let you know when you're doing a particular habit because it has invading energies. Coco don't understand that when you are doing that lofty thing to yourself, it doesn't quite understand where the threat's coming from. It doesn't. Coco's like, I don't see the person, doesn't realize that it's in your head, but it does become aware, whether it is through the whatever sensory system it does, it becomes aware of when the brain or the body is going to hit that certain vibration. Now, Coco's confused because it's like, I'm not sure exactly how I'm supposed to behave, because before it was like, I can see the outside threat, this person, that thing, or whatever. But I don't, what? Okay. So, well, how you can help Coco is that you do through pH, and that is you're going to begin to tap at L5. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to hold the forehead and you're going to think territory for them. And then you're going to tap L5. You can look up on the thing where the hips are, and acupuncture points or alignment of the spine, and begin to tap. Okay. And you're going to breathe in and out a few times. You don't have to do it a lot. And then you'll be done. Okay. Then, as far as to help her a little bit further, is that she picks other people's energies up, which then confuses her because you react in certain different ways. You then can do looking at the spine. You're going to look for T1, T5, and T9, and you can line it up. T1 usually will be at the neck, then where the head and the body meet. T5 is usually like where the shoulder blades are. And then T9 is more or less like, not quite in the middle, but again, look at the spine. Because Coco is doing his best, to know that this is your energy and not other people's energy in your field. And so help Coco begin to learn to differentiate. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, Cami, what is it you wanted me to do? What would you like? Where are you? I'm thinking it's this screen here. And getting a hold of Cami Ray. Cami Ray. K-A-M-I. Cami Ray. Once I've got connection with her, then nope, nothing yet. Okay. If you again would like you can have it between 5 and 15 or 25. So it's up to you. Sometimes it's such a delay Or you may be off the screen for a second and go, oh no. So Cammie, you're next. You've paid, you're next. You can get a lot out of today's program as well as out of other people's readings. That helps. Hi, Cammie. And is there anything particular that you wanted me to address, Miss Cammie? Okay. Let me know. Because I can help you look at what the soul wants you to look at to progress in your life, or if there's particular emotions that are going on, or you just want to feel calm again. We got different ways of helping you address, heal, look at whatever it is. So we'll give a second because, again, typing sometimes don't want to rush you. You're okay. Whatever comes up, thank you. I feel my guides or family are trying to get my attention. Okay, so again, I don't go into anybody's field. I'm looking at the mirror of things. And because this is being presented to you in that way, you can begin to be sensing that there's the way the frequency is it's trying to get your attention. Okay. And they said, is that you feel this need to take action. So you have this energy of feeling that's like, it's not a lofty, but you can be present, but there's a feeling that you're supposed to take action. They want me to look at this and say the reason that you feel like you got to take action is that there's a part of you that feels indifferent about something. Now, as I asked this, I said, explain more. And they said, well, you have to ask her, did these people that were your loved ones, did they make you or help you or to behave a certain way? Did they expect you to behave a certain way? So they said you can be taking direction in certain ways. The question is that, do you have to? Now, you're used to, from what I can see, is this communication relationship process. Now, I feel like I said, do you want to do certain actions? They said, my parents and we had this type of relationship, and I feel, okay, so are you reading more into this communication process? And they said, no, it's tapping into my condition that I'm supposed to behave a certain way when I feel this. So what are you exactly feeling? I can feel this, not a sense of urgency, but it's like they're trying to get my attention. But I'm not sure if I really want to trust this. How strong of a relationship do you have with the spirit world? Because you're developing trust. You're developing trust. And I said, is it the family that is actually communicating with her at this point? And they go, yes, but it's about how the body is responding. So that means there's a part of you that has an auto response, and then you have also another auto response that you're like, but I just want to run from having to always do what they want. And now they're on the other side, and now they're trying to tell me what to do again. I don't want to do that. And at the same time, I do want guidance. I said, so what's happening? Well, at the time, I was feeling that I feel like you wanted to do something, but because you're addicted to those certain behaviors, and those behaviors are coming up, but the people aren't there, there's this action. So I don't think you're really good at communicating with spirit. So you're learning the ins and outs about it. So you're learning the new knowledge. And I said, so do they have something really terrible? I mean, they got to talk to her. Yes, they would like to talk to her, but it's not urgent. It's not a life and death situation. I said, so what is it that you want? They say you're doing something in a relationship that you don't need to be doing. And actually, you are losing power in a particular relationship. And they go, we would like to point that out, is that you do not have to feel incompatible in order to have relationships. But when you are in a relationship and you're feeling incompatible, whether it is in an engaged relationship or a friend relationship or a work relationship, those invading energies is what we want you to transform out. Oh, so you sent her here. So what invading energy? It is when it's lofty energy that you go into autopilot and you lose who you are. Are you following along? Because I am quite following along with what they're saying. Now my language with them is a little different, but this is for you. So they're standing back, observing that what you learned from them growing up is what you're doing now in any type of relationships. And they're saying that they want you to realize you can grow from this. I'm working on understanding. Okay, so you, how you behaved as a child is that they want, no, they want better for you. So if somebody was throwing loft energy at you, even if it wasn't very necessarily hard, but it was maybe to manipulate, you would feel this incompatible feeling. And then you would go into fight, flight, freeze, and then do things accordingly. I just think they want me to move to another place. Okay. All right. So she doesn't understand what we're saying. And she says that she's translated it. You wanted her to move to another place. They're showing me physically that was the only way they knew how to communicate with you, and that you can be influenced by certain lofty energies. I said, is she interpreting it correctly? No, but she wants to. So, do you want to move? Because you feel incompatible to the point where you want to move. And they're pointing out the word incompatible. And if it's not necessarily to a person, but a place, then you would heal how you need to feel that I have to do something. I feel incompatible, like I need to move. And they're saying that I said, so is there a problem with where you live? Yes. And I said, okay, so the body then is responding that it feels incompatible. And I said, is this a good indicator to say to move? And they says, not necessarily, but so she doesn't want to go down that road. She wants to know, do you want her to move? They want you to stop feeling deficient. They want you to stop feeling incompatible and using that as a marker, a parameter to say that you have to do something. I think I need to grow and think moving is important. So she already has that she wants to move. So she's looking for indicators to actually take action. Is this correct? Yes. So do you want her to actually move? They said they want you to clear up that ego intuition versus the spiritual intuition. So now I'm about healing and helping you grow, but in this case, it is about you having a specific thing in mind. And all right, so is she supposed to move? Meaning location, different home, different thing. And is she meant to move? And they're saying that you need to create a forgiveness thing. So what's happening is that whatever is causing the incompatibility in that place, you need to begin to heal. But if you can't hear that, then the next level is, again, is she meant to move? And they said they want you to get more information if you're going to move, which is what they're trying to provide. I said, so let's say she doesn't understand that, but she just wants a definite yes, no. Should I go and move? Because that will be important to her. And they said, um, uh, let go of the incompatibility and just do. So to just do. So is that a yes that you want her to do? And they said, yes, big changes can occur. So in a way, they didn't want you to take the same crap that you had before, go into this new place and bring that baggage with you, because it will just follow you and it will affect the way that you're going to be in your place. So yes, they think that a great opportunity to move, start fresh, do something, and because you have big happiness and changes that can occur. But you have to let go of the particular luggage, the things in the past, which is what they were trying to explain to you. And they kept saying, get more information, not about the move, but about what was causing you to want to move, this incompatibility. And they want you to heal it out. That's what they were saying. So that's your answer. Okay. We're going to go over to Amy. Yes, because we're done with that. So we have Cami. And again, you can watch this replay if you want to go deeper at any of your healing. Go over to Miss Medicine Woman Solution. That's SOULTION, and find it on YouTube. And you look for the timestamp, because I will post that afterwards, the timestamp that's on my clock. And thank you so much, Brenda. I really appreciate it. You're welcome. You're welcome. Again, they wanted you to not take certain baggage with you. So they wanted you to heal. Now, if you choose to heal without any of the healing tools I have, EFT is a great way. And they want you to focus on that feeling incompatible so that you do not have to take that with you. Oh, let's see. Let me get my link. And if you guys could share out and communicate and let people know, then I can start serving my purpose even further. And I appreciate all of you as well. Let me get to the right picture. Why do I got two of those open? That's weird. And paste. Okay, I'm not sure if that's going to come through because Amy sent something and then half of it showed up and half of it didn't. That might be a clue. Showed up here, but not there. Oh, it's bizarre. All right, she's Johnny on the spot. We're going to find out what she wants help with today.
Hi.
Hey, we're not wearing the same color.
No, we're not.
We've been just, every time we get together, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, but
Okay.
your hubby and I are doing like the same kinds of things.
That's true. That's true. We still are in this world, still looking at perceptions or opposites, meaning you're hardcore of who you are, but at the same time, because there's an integration process of the polarization beginning to happen, meaning instead of being separate, we're starting to integrate. So we're kind of switching positions, or we're switching different particular perspectives. And so I'm more my husband is more me, and it's just the most weirdest thing. But at the same time, I'm going to go with it because that means we're integrating. And then eventually we'll have that new wisdom and keys and codes and that I didn't have before, and he as well, just like with all of us. Now, what's the funny part is they both got bitten by ants. Ours are like these bull ants that can go up to be about almost inch to inch and a half, depending on if they're a parent versus a child. And man, when they're determined to attack, they're not out to hunt you down. You're just, he was pounding in the ground, disturbed. He created an earthquake in their home. So they're coming out looking at, what did you do? What do you do? Let's bite the guy. Well, anyways, it just is like poof, swelled
Yeah,
up.
he showed me. I'm like, wow. And I was bit by no-see-ums.
No-see-ums is what you call them, and what is it? They're so tiny.
They're little teeny tiny gnats.
Gnats, not necessarily ants, but gnats.
Yeah, they're
okay.
I mean, you can't see them. That's why they're called no-see-ums. You can't see them till they bite you.
Right, and yeah. Well, we can go on those stories. I got plenty. My first and second and third chakra goes, oh, I got a story for that. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for the fact that you paid and you would like some guidance. So I am going, so I'm looking at all the little things that are happening right now. This is something to do with you. So Johnny on this spot, a couple little things. Now I dropped my speaker. I'm hoping I'll be able to hear you. The camera almost fell over and the lighting. So there almost was catastrophe. So yeah, I'm going to pick that up because I can't hear you. I can only hear half of you. Hold on. Don't need to get you guys a boob shot. So give me a second to get out of the screen. Okay.
Dig in.
Dig in. Okay. So let me look. Ugh. So one of the things I see is that there's in between lofty and crazy. Sorry. Lofty and hold on, don't say anything. Lofty and the dark night of the soul. So lofty and dark night. So it is all of a sudden, as soon as energies come into the room, then all of a sudden my piece becomes very chaos. So I'm going to ask, are you carrying the signatures or the keys and codes from somebody that just visited your house?
I think I am.
Yes, you are.
Because it's still, they came and they mowed, and it was
mowed the lawn, people. They
mowed the lawn, and I could hear the lawnmower, and I do it as fast as I can because I want to get it done. Right. Well, he sits and does it, 2 miles an hour. Takes him an hour and a half just to mow. I can do it 35 minutes. I could have walked it faster than he wrote it.
All right. So notice how she's complaining about how he's doing it and how she's judging.
And I caught myself doing that too. I'm like, no, I don't have it. Doesn't matter how he does it.
Right. But notice how the energy field said that. That's what we have to talk about first. Okay, so I'm going to be duly noted that it is you and that energy. Okay, now continue on.
So as I was sitting, I was crocheting, and then I got to the end of my skein and started a new one. And so it doesn't, all knot up, I was going to pull it out and start rolling it, but it didn't come out with the end. So I had to go. I mean, it was like, yeah,
Extra work.
extra
Okay.
work. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, what it was like my piece was gone. It was like nails on a chalkboard, and I'm like, oh, what is this?
Okay. Now, you also did an observation. Now, first of all, did you guys see each other face to face? Did you guys touch?
No.
All right. So when he first came, did he just start mowing, or did he communicate with you first?
He came in and said he was going to mow, and I'm like, well, you might as well grab the trash first. That way he could be done when he was done.
So you have a certain set of instructions about the way you like it. Okay. And if he decided to say no, would you have pushed?
Probably not.
Okay. But he normally does what you tell him, right? So but he's also a type person that takes direction.
Yeah.
So it's not like she's manipulating him to the point. It is the fact this is his communication style. So you've got communication style. And with that, if you didn't, then he would do it a different way. But would she be off stewing? Not necessarily. No, she would just say, okay, I'll just make sure I give him instructions the next time, because that, so so again, he's got Pigpen energy. So you know who Pigpen is from Charlie Brown. Okay, now he's clean guy. Not saying he's not clean. That's not what I meant. Energetically, his energies, he doesn't do tribal basic. He doesn't push out people's energy. He doesn't rebalance the field. He doesn't fix his orb. So he's magnetically picking up and carrying other people's stories and instructions and keys and codes and this and that. That's his norm. But when he came in, he has a lot of interference patterns besides his own. And you had said that you witnessed that how did you know? You weren't physically spinning.
No, it was just like, there was a different vibration. It was like I could hear the lawnmower and how the lawnmower has a vibration. And normally that doesn't bother me, but it was the vibration of the lawnmower with his interference pattern and the Pigpen energy from what he absorbed while he was out and about.
Okay, so now your reaction to all that is saying that here I am, 7 years old, and how I feel that I don't like this. It's interfering with my peace. Okay, so it's like one time I'm teaching class. I said, somebody asked me, can I mow the lawn? I said, yeah, just don't do it between these 2 hours, these 2 hours on this day. You got the rest of the week to do it. They chose to do it that day during that time as I'm teaching. So I got to talk over the lawnmower, but I'm supposed to be appreciative at the same time. And it's like, interesting. And so what I'm looking at is that you got annoyed. And I said, did you get annoyed because you want to be annoyed? 7 years old. So you can't go back to age 7. Your soul wants to work on a particular story. So it chose this moment in time that he is supposed to show up is just going to just do it his way. Okay. And you are also picking up all of the stories. So I feel like somebody like the father or the mother or somebody's like going, they're mad because you're doing it your way. You need to be doing it my. So he's got a lot of people that are constantly telling him what to do. Okay. And he just wants to do it his way. Okay. And he can't behave the way he wants. And I said, so what energy field was coming from the lawnmower and him? And it's, I can't do it my way, but he can do it his way when he mows. But all you're feeling and picking up is different patterns that he has interacted with.
Mm-hmm.
And you're mirroring back how you're supposed to be annoyed that you can't do it your way. Even though this is not about you going it your way, you became aware that your sensory system was picking up. Your sensory system is saying, I'm supposed to be lofty. So literally, you're saying that you have to show up as this, but in his space, you have to show up as that. You're supposed to show up like the parents or that. And you're like, and not even your parents, his parents,
Mm-hmm.
or whoever is constantly at him. And you're aware that you don't want to do it, but you're aware that the potential hydrogen and the pH, the physiology, is that it's doing it. And you're like, body, why are you doing it? So you need to understand that the spleen is saying, where'd my happy go? I'm supposed to demonstrate that mirror of where'd my happy go. So you're gonna start tapping T1, T5, T9 and focus on where'd my happy go. So, she can't put her hand on her head fully, so she's got a magnet there, but she can go in and she can breathe 3 times and tap those particular spaces. Y'all following along? Hopefully you are. So funny because my one screen says, "Oh, the conversation is mowing lawn and crocheting." It's way more than that there, just so you know, Mr. AI.
Way more than that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's a shift. I can feel that myself. Now, was that shirt designed to have that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know that you have certain clothes that have certain holes because it's about the design. And it's so funny. I went into been watching just a few shows on designing of the clothes and things, and I go in and I decided I wanted to feel pretty. I wanted not to have that same look. So I found this cute little dress, and it is like I like the square cuts in these type of cuts, and it's like. Then I found this one skirt that has peaks on it. Why would you want to? I'm like, yeah. Some of the fashion, I'm like, no, no, just not. It's not for me. I'm finally wearing things that have colors and things. And
I like that.
Jazzy. Thanks. But anyway, so now let's get back with you. And you're supposed to, so you're attracting in that feeling that I'm supposed to chase something. I have to get up and do what others tell me. I have to do this. So I said, is the button pushed? And they said, no, but it's the chase. It's after the button's pushed. Okay, so then they want you to go and start tapping. You have to overcompensate. You got to correct it. You got to do something. You got to take that particular action. And they said that they want you to do T1, T8, and L2. Now, again, overcompensation is what she would be holding here and focusing on that. And it's that feeling. It's the chase. I have to do that. So it's not just your sensory system that's getting overwhelmed or annoyed. It's a set of instructions from the interference patterns. Yeah. If you're here, give a good thumbs up. And if you can subscribe, do so. Oh, there we go. Whew. Yep, it's changing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's changing a lot. That's actually a good thing. Okay, so is there anything else? They said, now you are addicted to feeling deficient. Oh, they said not as much anymore. Hold on. But I have to look at deficiency, that you're supposed to see it. Like he really believes that he's deficient and you're supposed to see he's deficient. And right before you got married, because somebody said, oh, he's perfect for you. So this isn't a marriage, from what I can tell, is love. It was more of an arranged marriage. It was a marriage of convenience to satisfy someone so that they weren't supposed to worry about you. But you already had a judgment that I don't want to be married to this person because, so you see their deficiencies. You see necessarily that you know that you're not compatible. Not necessarily as deficient, but notice how inside of you, you know that that it's okay. So you now need to go back and tap L5 because you know this is a chakra relationship issue. Because it's like, but I don't wanna, but you have to. Okay. So Autumn, you're at a 1. At a 1, not bad. Yeah, okay. So now I'm looking at this and I forgot to check that. That's brilliant. That's okay. No big deal. Oh, I hear clear-headed, clear mind. I'm surprised your mom don't have her thumb up by now. I can hear a part of you that's saying, well, why did I follow through on it? There's a party that's questioning why did you have to listen so intently? And I said, it's because you have the good girl syndrome. They go, not necessarily. You did it because based on ego intuition, as soon as I feel this deficiency, I'm supposed to define it this way. So I want you to do R1D because you can't behave, you can't do. So you have no choice but to do as they say. Okay. Now, if you're following along and you're not aware, the fact she's not touching this is because she can't quite because she had shoulder surgery, and but she has a magnet under her hat.
Yep.
So she's focusing on. She's focusing on. Now she was convinced and a belief system to look and to feel and think this way. Now she needs to break that up. She needs to break that up. She needs to break that up. Okay. Very good. Now begin to notice the auto response that your gut intuition is, well, if I have to marry deficiency, then feel this, it's not regret, feel this, I have to go and do something. You don't have the volition. So it's like I have to do things against my own will.
Ooh, yeah.
And then you can parent. So to convince yourself that, yes, I'm going to do this, at least you can parent him. You can parent. You can do that. But that's not even okay. So where we're going with this is, so a woman is told certain things that she, in a world where a woman is supposed to do this, men do this, and then women can't really express themselves, so they have to do it in a different way. Yes, I'd say hook up. So okay, that's fine. I love him. I'll pick up the, his socks, clean out the whiskers out of the sink. I will do this because I love him. Da, 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 da. She didn't really have that going in. So she went in and said, oh, at least I can tell him what to do. I get to boss him around. I get to, because she can't have kids and all this other stuff. And okay. So there was a bartering aspect to this. But now that's not even going to work. Because you're fully aware that you do not want, in the scalar field, you don't want to show up that way anymore. You're like, I don't want to do it anymore.
No, I don't.
And this is where it gets confusing between ethics and morals. And this is where other people's opinion will come in and say, no, you're doing it wrong. But there's part of you that's deep in your heart that said, that's not really fair for the both of us anymore. We don't have to come together through trauma bonding, or we don't have to come together because the parents manipulated it, saying, either parents, they're his and yours, that said that this would be good because I don't really see a future for our kids, but we want to make sure our kids are stable in the future. So whatever came to the table and whatever kind of agreement, you're going, but I don't want to do that anymore. I don't have to do that anymore. And so in order for her not being controlled by things in the past, she has to change it at this scalar field, this then different space. It's like, I don't want to do that anymore. So she doesn't have to show up that way. And but it's the belief that I have to, the belief that I have no choice. I have to. And she's got a lot of drainage all of a sudden. I don't know if she's feeling it, but good God, there's something going on to the point where she's got to repress herself, and she don't want to repress. So I want you to hold R1S, and I want, if you're not there, make sure you're there. I want you to really look at, in order to have life, I have to repress my desires, my hope, my joy, my yeah, my voice is completely changing. You have to alter yourself. So that the lack of control, you have to suppress that part of yourself.
Mm-hmm. I just kind of like saw it my whole life of not being able to do what I wanted to do.
Okay, but that is also part of the archetype that we agreed upon, that this is how our collective or society is supposed to be. And there's a part of you that's saying, because we're doing the polarization and integrating, there's a part of you that's like, but if I integrate, I don't want to bring that story into this new reality I'm creating for myself. I don't need to bring that baggage. Just kind of like when we had the Cami reading. You don't want to bring that with you.
Right. This new adventure that I'm going on, I don't want to bring that old baggage with me.
Exactly. And you know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know that. So you're ready to just say, this doesn't serve me anymore to think and feel and act this way. But you'll have to discover what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have to discover what that looks like, because in order to stop the habit, to change the habit, because that's the next part of what you got to do, is you got to understand how the habit got constructed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so spirit will be working with you. That's also what we'll be talking about in our new class that's coming up.
I'm excited for those.
Good. I have one student. That's good. Hopefully I can, and each week. So there's not a set weeks of 6 weeks. This will be an ongoing thing, like tribal, except for it doesn't have to be committed each week, as far as like on my part, and if you miss a week, you can purchase it to watch later.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, how you feeling?
I feel like I'm at a 0.
There's a lot going on physically. I'm going to check it is 0. You can stop. Get your hook up, get your giggles on, but I'm looking at your pH. They're saying that you're still in a transitional state. So understand your instructions. To understand that as we heal, we're healing backwards. That means we're deconstructing how you learned it, and that we have to tear it down nail by nail. So when you're driving a car, you don't know how to be a professional driver until you learn all the things. Like, that's a vehicle, this is a key. Oh, wait, this one don't have to have a key. But so, you have all these steps. And then because your brain says efficiency, it'll start to say delete, distort, and generalize. We're going to focus on this. We've already done this. I can drive drive mindlessly for 10 miles and realize I just drove perfectly, and I'm fully alert if I have to do this. So the brain does its best to always be efficient, because it doesn't want to burn brain matter, burn energy. It doesn't need to have to do that. So you have to think different things. You have to go backwards. And as we are learning to heal backwards, you're going to have to sit with yourself and be aware spiritually how a habit is about ready to kick in. It's like, what sensory system? Was it a gesture? Was it words? Was it a tone? What's just happened? So you already started doing that to some degree when you said you were sitting there and you heard the mower, but it did something. And you're like, oh, it's provoking. Hold on, let me take note.
Mm-hmm.
You are already doing it. But the habit of how you agreed to this, did this, put up with this, and have, you're going to start healing backwards. Now, you won't get right to the beginning. But so you're going to, what they are is that different perspectives where you agreed upon and collapsed time and said, this is what it is, this is what it is, this is what it is. And we have to go back and we got to get some wisdom.
Yep.
We have to collapse those things. And you will be working with your spirit and you'll go, wait a minute. Did I just say yes? Why did I say yes when I wanted to say no? So you're going to ask yourself a different types of questions for yourself. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right.
Makes all kinds of sense.
So Autumn said she'd like to. She has to figure out funds. Well, thank you, Spirit, for setting it up so she can do so. Okay. And Amy, thank you so much for learning and growing and getting it and understanding it and sitting on the bridge with me.
Thank you for teaching me.
You're welcome. You can see, especially now that you're learning how to collapse different realities that you so believed in, and it changed the entanglement cords with your reality. Would you want to go back to how you were so many years ago?
In fact, I saw just it was while I was searching for your Facebook one. My grandniece was baptized today, and there was, there was no invite or anything like that, and I'm like, yeah.
But
before it would have hurt. It would have like, what about me? But I'm like, yeah, no, I would, yeah, no.
And you know that the vibrational patterns are so different that we don't have to do traditions. We don't have to do those things. No. We don't have to be in pain and suffering because you don't identify who you are based on what you didn't get. You don't have to look at envy, jealousy, and pain and stuff. You're choosing to create a heaven on earth, and you're choosing to change the meaning of it. But you also know I don't have to have those people to create a meaning for my life. Exactly. I don't have to have them to give me purpose.
No, I don't.
So there's a whole lot of growing going on, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you again, and you have a good day, and we will talk to you later or in Tribal tomorrow, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.
So this is today's show. Hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you learned and it helped you expand your reality that you are a spirit being first, okay? And that you are learning how to integrate, how to be a spiritual being in a human form without just all the separateness. And you can choose to be happy and healthier. So I sit there and I begin to use my gift of awareness of when I'm losing power and what I'm losing power to, and that the interference patterns make me become less than. I begin to spiritually investigate, and then I use any type of tool that I have to help me get back and change my brain to get back to now. So hashtag resolve to evolve, hashtag heal instead of deal, hashtag you don't have to believe your own BS. And there's many more hashtags, but hashtag thank you, Spirit. We begin and end that way. And you're already blessed and you're already whole. So learn to hold space for yourself.